What's going on, traders? Andrew O'Connell here with Pristine Capital. It is May 13th of 2022, and we finally got our market rally. Thank you so much for your patience. We did not put out a market recap video yesterday. I was actually on the phone with one of my former colleagues. We used to work together on the fixed income trading desk at Vanguard. He now works as a portfolio manager. We were talking on the phone for like 5 hours just about all these markets, making sense of everything. So yeah, thank you so much for your patience. Let's dive into today's video. We have a lot to talk about, and let's start with these box scores. Today we had the S&P 500. It finished up 2.39%. The NASDAQ QQQ was up 3.71%. IWM small caps, these were up 3.17%. Our dogs of the Dow, of course, they lagged behind the pack. They were only up 1.45%. And our ARK Innovation ETF led the pack today. It was up 11.82%. Pretty much all of these indices closed towards the upper end of their day's range. The VIX came off significantly. I believe it did close below a 30, which is huge. And we had positive breadth in the market. My trend model flipped from a -3 to a -1 right on the open. And then as we moved through the day, it flipped from a -1 to a +1. So finally, we're out of this -3 environment and hopefully some brighter skies ahead. Let's take a look here at our Finviz Heat Map. Remember, we've been talking for the past few days and really like few weeks how everyone has been either underweight the growth stocks, short the growth stocks. Everyone's been positioned for this inflationary environment, runaway inflation. Like, it's been 15 months of a huge drawdown in growth, crypto, you name it, big drawdowns. Now we finally got our inflation data out this week. We got our CPI data point out as well as our PPI. And the CPI wasn't really received well. That to me was a big time capitulation event. The number came in slightly above the estimates, but it was a sequential slowdown. That's the key. Then the PPI also came out, and that was in line with the estimates, which is great. And it was also a sequential slowdown. So remember, in terms of the way these markets work, when everyone is positioned for a certain market environment, and then you get new data that says, hey, that market environment might be changing, that is huge. And that can cause these big moves like what we saw today, especially in the ARK Innovation ETF. Like, take a look at this. Like, in terms of our sectors, you'll notice the ARK Innovation ETF was a big winner. ARKF, the fintech fund, is up over 12%. ARKW, our blockchain ETF, was up big. It was up 6.77%. Solar stocks were up big as well. So yeah, all of these like high risk areas of the market really just went to the moon today. Because keep this in mind, like, because we had those first two sequential slowdowns in the inflation data, there's definitely some portfolio managers, some traders out there, some economists that now all of their models, they might have previously had like a 0% chance inflation has peaked. Maybe now that probability just went up to 10%. Maybe it went up to 20%, 30%, who knows? But when those changes occur in these players' models, then suddenly they go, hey, if our probability updated, hey, let's go ahead and add some growth stocks. We're underweight there, and that could benefit if inflation has peaked. And all it takes is that slight rebalancing or that slight trigger, and when everyone's short, you can get a massive squeeze. Now let's take a look here, and we'll check out our ARK Innovation ETF just to see what that is looking like. I actually added a position in ARK via some January calls. That was yesterday. So take a look here. The ARK Innovation ETF, this thing was up 11.82% today. This thing is so darn oversold. Look at the volume that went off here. Not today, the prior day. So we undercut those prior lows. I'm sure so many people capitulated. Over the past few days, we were seeing stocks, every time they reported earnings, down 30%, down 50%. And those are not pure fundamental moves. The stock didn't get half as good due to the earnings report. It's just the capitulation and this dynamic that is present within the asset management world. Us as retail investors, when the market blows up, we can just go, okay, I'm going to take my paycheck and buy a little bit more, no big deal. But in the asset management world, it is quite different. Where with them, if they start drawing down and they lose some of their investors' capital, suddenly their risk management framework says you have too much risk on. In order to reduce your drawdowns even further, you actually have to go ahead and sell out of your risk. So you can get these really mechanical deleveragings and the events like we just had over the past couple days where a lot of these growth stocks just got to these really silly levels. So yeah, ARK looks absolutely fantastic, really just for a balance. And check this out. So yeah, in terms of the ARK, and we had talked about this on Wednesday as well, that I saw this really big opportunity within the software group because they got to the lowest valuation since the coronavirus crash. These names got actually even cheaper. So I've been over the past few days just allocating into software growth stocks, etc. So yeah, yesterday I put on these ARK Innovation ETF, the January 20th, 2023 calls for $6.85. This is a 3-star position for me, so that's really as big as it gets. In terms of today, I really did not do any trading. The only thing that I did do was I managed the risk on this position right here. These were some QQQ 313 May 20th calls. I took these off for $1.86. I'd paid $9.90 for those. And I put here, I entered this position when my trend model was at a -3. I could have kept this premium had I not tried to outsmart the model. So that's really like a key takeaway for me. When the market really imploded, I was able to manage my risk and do okay, but had I followed my trend model to a T, I could have avoided, that premium that basically collapsed and, just done even better. So yeah, it's really just a continued learning process for me. Don't try to outsmart the model. So yeah, definitely something that I'm going to keep in mind for the future. But yeah, I ended up adding ARK. Yesterday, I also added this cloud ETF, this one ticker symbol SKY, because I really think that even if the market rolls over, these levels for cloud stocks, in my opinion, these are really attractive levels if you're planning on holding these for a long-term time horizon. But yeah, let's take a look. So those are my trades for today. Oh yeah, another thing I want to bring up is in terms of our Fed speakers as well. As soon as we got those inflation data points, Mester came out and Daily as well, Fed speakers, and they were a little bit more dovish. Same thing with Kashkari. Let's take a look at where we're at now in terms of the S&P 500. We took out a VPOC yesterday, and now we are bouncing higher. We're above the 5-day exponential moving average, which is good. But take a look here in terms of this hourly chart. We've been trading below the weekly value area this entire week. Really all that means is that everyone that bought last week, the vast majority of them, are still underwater on their positions. Well, we're going to have a new weekly value area for this Monday, and this is showing us all the activity that occurred since Monday all the way up until the close today, and we're trading inside of value now. So all it's going to take is a little push higher, and then before you know it, we could be trading above that weekly value area. And also take a look at where we are here. In terms of this yearly value area, we're actually approaching this yearly value area low, and we did put in a hammer candle. So there's going to be a ton of people that say, oh my gosh, I shorted today. There's no way, this is just a bounce, whatever. But if the market starts to sniff out that inflation may have peaked, the Fed might be a little bit easier than we would have expected, you could continue to see this squeeze occur in the market where the ARK innovation stocks, etc., they just continue to cause problems for the shorts. With that being said, that about does it for this market recap video. As always, if you're a Pristine Capital member, you're going to get your weekend market analysis video in your inbox, as well as our weekend watch list video. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. I will see you all next time.